What's going on, Guardian? Sly here, and thanks for watching another Wrath of the Machine raid guide. With hard mode due to come out, we think sometime this month in October, I wanted to complete all my guides for the Wrath of the Machine raid, and the only thing I have left happened to be the Siege Engine. Now, besides the visuals right before the last boss, the Siege Engine is definitely one of my favorite parts of the raid. It requires a lot of cooperation, tons of teamwork, and lots of communication. Add a lot of yellow bar enemies, or as I like to call them, banana boys, those annoying slow mines and ships with powerful cannons, and it turns out to be a pretty chaotic environment. On top of all of that, there's a timer, so it adds a whole nother level of stress, and the first time we conquered this machine by our own trial and errors, it was definitely a good feeling. Then seeing the enormous machine drop down into the water by this huge cliff, it reminds me why I still play Destiny every day. So while most of us know the mechanics of this beast and how to beat it, this guide is intended for those who are still learning how to do the raid, and also for those out there looking for a few tips on how to get better during hard mode. Now I have a few tricks that will help your team out a lot, and with the hard mode due to stack another mechanic on top of harder and more abundant enemies, these tricks may help out a lot. Alright guys, well, let's go ahead and get to it. Now, after you beat the Archpriest, be sure to grab the loot he drops as well as the chest that blends into the center platform. Many raiders, including myself, missed this chest on day one. There are also 2 hidden chests that you can find on the way to the Siege Engine. Check out my Wrath of the Machine Guide vid playlist, and all the locations are there in one video so you can easily find them. Okay, so once you make your way towards the top, you actually come out underneath this huge behemoth. Walk along the broken top of this wall and then head towards the blocked off wall right in front of you. The machine will end up being behind you a long ways out. Clear out all the enemies you see and load up on snipers, swords, and rockets. You'll see why here in a minute. Now, as the last enemy is killed, you'll encounter a cutscene of this beast in action. What's happening here is that you need this machine to break down the barrier blocking your way. But in order to control it, you need to break it and then fix it again. So to start off, have a Titan pop a bubble right in front of this shipping container. Saint 14 helmets work extremely well for this point. You're going to use the bubble as a barrier from bullets, as well as using weapons of light to do extra damage to the siege machine, as you'll see here in a second. If all you have is hunters, tethers work just as well. The idea is to have everyone focus on the cannons. So on top of the shipping container, shoot off the left and right cannons located right in the middle of this machine. They'll be shooting at you, so they're pretty hard to miss. Just be careful and get this done quickly, because if they get too close, they can kill you in just one hit. Have everyone focus their snipers on the left cannon first, and then once it blows off, focus on the right one. Now, once both cannons are damaged, you'll need to destroy the core. What's going to happen is you're going to see a big plate blow off the middle, exposing the orange core of the machine. Doing enough damage to that core will cause an explosion on the left-hand side of the machine, allowing your team to easily jump on board. Now, not enough DPS will cause your team to become squished into the wall by this beast, so it'll be a total wipe. The Weapons of Light bubble not only protects you from incoming bullets, but an increase of DPS as well, something you're probably going to need in hard mode. Tether the ground so enemies don't shoot you or melee you, and hopping on top of this box will keep you relatively safe from like the 3,000 dregs that are all over the place. Do all this, jump up, ride through the wall, and congratulations guys, you passed the easiest part of this. Alright, well this next part is the hard part, and there are a few things that you can do to make this much easier. First, let me explain what's going on here. So, now that you have damaged the siege machine, and you rode it through the wall, you now need to repair it in order to burst through the second wall. So as soon as the first barrier is broken and the pieces start flying everywhere, go ahead and take a running leap off of the front, but be careful because you can die from all the extra momentum of the moving platform you just jumped off of. When you land a little too hard, it could kill you. After that, make your way towards the next barrier, but stop at this shipping container on the left-hand side. The ship in front of you floating will drop off a salvage crew headed by a major captain, another banana boy, or a yellow bar enemy. Lower his shield with rockets and then finish him off with a sword. Once the captain is killed, the salvage parts will fall from the ship. There are going to be 3 of them in total: the warhead, the drive shaft, and the engine block. Each piece will need to be put into a specific place before the machine overheats and explodes from the damage you caused it. If you don't get it there in time, it's a wipe. So there are 2 things that are going to happen once the parts fall from this ship. Number 1 is that each piece is very heavy and will cause you to walk extremely slow, like sub-snail pace slow. You can only carry it for 10 seconds before you automatically drop it. On top of that, there's a cooldown after you drop it for an additional 10 seconds, so that way you can't pick it back up again. The best thing to do is to have people on cooldown follow the ones that are carrying the parts. As soon as their 10 seconds is up, the ones on cooldown should be good to go, but more on that here in a second. The second part to this is that while all this is happening, another crew, headed by another Banana Boy captain named Mikas, will drop down onto the machine itself, close your boarding ramp, and attempt to take control by blowing it up. So while everyone races towards the parts that will fall from the ship, one person needs to stay on board the machine itself and take care of Mikas. This part is actually the easiest out of them all. There are only 4 Vandals with him. Pretty much grab your raise lighter, it'll chew them up really easily, and Mikas only takes 2 right triggers and it's over. Killing him will then lower the ramp once again on the left hand side, and that allows the parts to be walked up on the machine and be put into place. Now here's the important part, guys. After the player who stays back kills Mikas, it's critical that that guy jumps off the ship and goes to help their teammates immediately. Being a man down while carrying 3 parts in all that action, it's pretty tough, especially with so many enemies and all those annoying mines everywhere. With a 6th man, it becomes a lot easier. But here are some tips on how you can make this part pretty easy. First of all, stick to the high road. The beginning part is the hardest. You need to try to balance yourself across these 2 small beams. Now, if you end up falling off of these skinny rails, it's totally fine, but expect to be caught up by those mines every 5 feet, and they continually respawn. So try to stick to the top path if you can. If you have a bunch of Titans with you, put on Saint 14 helmet with Blessings of Light and place them right after the balancing poles, and then right after or before each of these bridges. This gives each player an exchange place, like somewhere safe to drop the part and then pick it back up again without worrying about the ships firing at you or the captains, dashing in to melee you. Next, have out your swords. These make not only quick work of the Banana Boy captains, but they can also be used to propel your teammates carrying the parts. Just like being that guy, and pushing someone off a ledge with your sword, if you want to be that guy, you can also swing your sword and push your teammates pretty far. It's best to use this maneuver at the last stretch of carrying the part because it's flat and unobstructed, and you can be pushed pretty far. The next thing is for Warlocks to take the gift Xur gave us a few weeks ago and throw on the Transversive Steps. Hunters, change your subclass node off of Shade Step and throw on Keen Scout. These 2 changes work the same. As soon as you pick up the part, crouch, and you will ignore the over-encumbered debuff. Now it's not as fast as walking normally, but it's twice as fast as you would be walking with these parts in hand. As you can see here, it's a huge boost to speed compared to everyone else, and it makes an incredible difference time-wise. Hunters and Warlocks own this part of the raid because of how fast they are compared to Titans, which currently don't have an exotic or subclass node that gives them this ability to crouch to walk faster. Dune Marchers are awesome, but they can't bypass this debuff like the others can. They are still a huge asset by placing those bubbles. Just because others can walk faster doesn't mean that you're going to get it done. Enemies are absolutely everywhere, guys, and if those mines go off, no exotic or subclass can help you get out of those mines, so just be aware of that. Now this only bypasses the debuff you get while carrying it, and only while you're carrying it. It doesn't shorten the cooldown, and it doesn't work inside the mines, but it's quite a difference compared to not using them at all. So once everything goes according to plan, hopefully you kill the captain who closes the ramp, you have the parts right in front of the machine, you walk them up the ramp, and then each part needs to be in place before your screen goes white. Now you'll hear this beeping in the background. The faster it beeps, the closer you are to death. So, the parts immediately to your right, as soon as you make it on board, the drive shaft will go right there on the right hand side. In the middle of the machine, you'll see a place for the warhead, which is on the right side of the middle column, and then on the far back left, you'll see a truck's engine bay all the way open. That's where the engine block needs to be placed. Using the sword to push your teammate here works out very, very nicely. It's a smooth surface, which allows you to push them very quickly. It's a time saver for sure. Now remember, you will automatically drop each part after 10 seconds, so make sure you have someone right behind you every time you pick it up. There have been many times that a part has been dropped while pressing extra square to put it in place because the timer ran out, and since you can't pick it back up again for another 10 seconds, someone else needs to do it, and if you're not right behind them, that could be the difference between moving on or doing all that crap again. So remember, for normal mode and for hard mode, Hunters put on Keen Scout. It's the top right subclass node on the far column. Warlocks use Transversive Steps. Doesn't matter if they're upgraded or not, it's an intrinsic perk to walk faster while crouch, so it'll work even if they haven't been upgraded. Titans, swords, and Saint 14 helmets with blessings all the way. For the first part, use Weapons of Light to help blow off the cannons, but after that, change it back to blessings because you're going to see a lot of these things trying to kill you while you're carrying the parts back. Alright, so after you fix the machine, you burst through the second wall, and congratulations, you're through. It is an awesome sight to drop down before the machine and watch it fall. But don't forget that the monitor is on top of the wall, and there are 2 chests after you drop down. Also receive a fragment to your right in a small cave, and then the last secret chest is in the broken pipe up ahead right before you enter the cave. Now I expect these tips to work very well in hard mode. Blinding helmets give the player much needed protection and also a break. It's also a safe area to make an exchange. If you need to drop a part on purpose, always put it behind cover or in a bubble. This way the next person picking it up won't have to worry about dying while standing there holding the action button to pick it back up again. Tethers also work very well, but be careful where you place a tether. Sometimes, especially the last ramp before you get onto the machine itself, if you tether enemies and they stop, they'll end up blocking the walkway and you can't walk past them. Not a huge deal, but time is key here and every delay could cost you in the end. But that's about it, guys. It sounds more complicated than it really is, but sticking together is a huge part of this. If someone falls or a part falls off the balance beams in the beginning, have people who are currently on cooldown help with enemies and mines. The bottom path is absolutely covered in mines, and even though you have protection from the ship shooting at you, the mines make it extremely slow and extremely annoying. Again, getting pushed by the sword will help you get through it a lot faster. Alright y'all, well that's all I got for this one. I'm looking forward to hard mode, and if anything changes up considerably, I'll have a hard mode guide for each boss and the best way to beat each part the day it comes out. As always guys, thank you so much for watching. If you want to stay up to date with all the videos coming out of Slide Nation, follow me on Twitter at Slide Nation or subscribe to me here on YouTube. Could not do this without you guys, and until next time Guardians, this is your boy Sly. Later!